I'm standing here with Michael from Nashua, who is, you're one of the old-time Free Staters who's been here for a long time, moved to New Hampshire for freedom.
Yeah, I moved
quite a while back.
Yeah, 5 years ago. A little more than 5 years ago now, actually.
'05?
Yeah, June of '05.
And I feel like I ran into you even some before that, but anyway, you came up here. What was the main thing that drove you to move here?
Well, I was a full-fledged freedom lover at the time of the Free State Project. They're going through the whole preliminaries as to which state should be chosen, and people were voting. Like, some people wanted Wyoming. There's a big, cast of people who want Wyoming. There's New Hampshire had their, people, and there's a big divide. And the New Hampshire finally won. I was thrilled because I lived, 50 minutes away in Mass. So I'm like, this is perfect. I love New Hampshire anyway. It was already a great state, something, I was thinking about doing before, and now it just kind of cinched the deal. And that was, I think, '04 it was decided that New Hampshire would be chosen as the Free State. And I graduated college in May of '05, and I moved right after graduation. Pretty much got a job in New Hampshire right away, and I moved right up.
I guess whenever I talk to a former Mass resident who's a Free Stater, it's a chance for me to help correct some of the prejudices about Massachusetts residents who moved to New Hampshire. There's been a lot of statistics that have come out that indicate Massachusetts residents fleeing to New Hampshire are either libertarian oriented or conservative to a greater extent than the people who already lived here. And yet there's this mythology out there that Massachusetts inbound immigrants are liberal. What do you have to say to all that?
I'd say that probably the majority of them are liberal. I mean, there had been an influx of Mass residents coming up, moving to New Hampshire. It starts as a summer home thing, and they come up there vacation, and then some of them like to retire there. And it wouldn't surprise me at all that a lot of Mass residents have moved up who are liberal, and some people have said that's why New Hampshire's starting to turn a little bit towards the more liberal, because there are Mass residents who are coming up in great numbers and moving there. But there are lots of liberty people, liberty lovers who are moving up because they're sick of the socialism as well, and they're sick of the tyranny of Mass's ways. I like to compare it to East Germany versus West Germany. Every time I cross the border, it's such a divide. Whereas if you're caught in Mass, even though there are peaceable journey laws, say for instance to travel with a firearm locked in your vehicle through Massachusetts, I've heard stories of people traveling to Connecticut or Virginia being pulled over, being harassed, having the gun taken anyway. So I mean, anytime you make that border crossing, which I do just about every day, it's like you're going from a free state into a non-free socialist state. And that's why I compare it to making the border change between West Germany and East Germany, because as soon as you cross that border, it's a totally different set of rules. You're not in Kansas anymore.
What would you say now that you're in the state and been here for 5 years? What type of activism have you been drawn toward the most?
I'd say a wide variety. At first, I was heavily active in the political spectrum, and not just campaigning and so forth, but actually going to the State House, testifying for bills I was supporting and against bills I wanted shot down that were detrimental to liberty. I've kind of focused away from that a little bit, taking a little break from that. I'm starting to do my own just grassroots type of organization, kind of spreading the word from person to person a little more. Not that there's anything wrong with doing things politically or having activism done in the State House, but I think that things are progressing at such a rapid point now that people have to kind of step up the game, the situation, get the word out there as fast as possible so that more people can become aware of this and start to speak out against it. So I mean, I've kind of shifted more towards that type of grassroots level activism and awakening of the populace around. And I mean, it's fun to converse with other Free Staters, but it's even greater too to convert somebody into the world of liberty, kind of open up their paradigm a little bit, kind of open up a new door, give them some different things to think about. And with the outrages going on now, with the full body nude scanners, with the men patting down women in very inappropriate places, being very rough about it, a lot of people are becoming outraged more and more in regards to government. So it's a good time, it's a good opportunity now. You got to strike while the iron's hot, wake people up while you can.
And Michael, what would you say is the accomplishment that you're most proud of for liberty in New Hampshire?
I would say that maybe the most impactful thing I've done, aside from the grassroots awakening of people, because that's somewhat harder to keep track of, is, believe it or not, after talking about the activism I used to do at the State House is the time I testified before the committee against the Real ID law, which New Hampshire actually shut down. It was one of the few states to, shut down and shut out the Real ID, which was an act to convert the state driver's licenses into a national ID, which would be tied in on a federal level and with every other state.
This was the Senate hearing?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I think I saw you testify there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, the complaint I made in front of the committee was that I'm not going to accept a national ID card. It's a crime against my morals. And if one is imposed, I would still drive. I would still do everything I do now, but I would do it without the card because I wouldn't accept the card. So
I remember
in essence,
that now.
Right, that would turn me into a criminal. And I told them that I did not want to become a criminal for living the way I live. Please don't turn me into a criminal. And nobody had any questions, but I think it weighed fairly heavily on them, and I think it was a good point that a lot of them hadn't perhaps considered before.
It was our Grenada.
Yeah, something.
It was a small, tiny victory that later on hopefully will lead to more.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and there's many more to come. In the Free State, people are moving every day. More people are awakening towards the tyrannical government and the evils of coercion, and they're moving towards the light of liberty. And it just takes a little bit at a time, and then over time, you have a massive change, and great things are happening. 5, 10, 20 years down the road, there's going to be a mass awakening, mass victories for liberty everywhere. But New Hampshire's going to be the ground floor, at the ground level, where the ground's going to break first, and that's where freedom is going to first come into fruition in a big way.
Well, we'll see how it works out. We'll all be here for the ride, I think.
Yeah, I'll be here too.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, David.